Hey fam, welcome back to another episode of I'm Telling You.
I'm telling you.
with your host as always.
Should I mess it up? It should be I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
Just stepping all over me.
That's what I do.
All right, well, Philly D.
Mr. Gemini.
Yeah, and if you can, please, we would love some interaction.
Reach out to us.
Yeah, get us an email. Send it to I'm telling you at directionsmusic.org. That's IMTELLINYOU at directionsmusic.org. Yeah, you didn't get me with it.
A bit. No, it's okay.
It was a crappy robot. We keep trying to like get each other on that when we're doing that. But that's what we do. So hey, first time listeners, 30-year friendship. We apparently step all over each other. We make fun of each other, do movie quotes. We try to be what's the word? Sinceriously.
It's unscripted. Like none of this is planned ahead of time. So it's
100% organic,
off the cuff.
Yeah, all live, all natural.
All natural.
Yeah, no edits, no.
Well, I mean, we're clothed, but
I mean, you are.
We're all natural. All natural, like a summer breeze.
The summer breeze makes you feel. Yeah, we also do like movie quotes and music quotes and.
Oh, I'm doing it. I'm ready.
Yeah, you go ahead because I'm not going to have one. So, oh, there it is. Yeah, we usually crack beers, but
the eagle has landed.
But yeah, I've been pulling back on my alcohol consumption, specifically beer. The carbs and all that kind of stuff. Just
that is pretty good. Thanks for the reference there.
Yeah, I told you. Yeah,
I have to move things around because stuff's too much of a reach for me. And there we go.
Yeah, they always do when they do their rye. It's always just to me it's just enough. Complements what's there, plays around.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like that rye toast taste, like that. Like a really strong rye liquor. We'll have that. I don't necessarily seek that out, but that's mellow.
Yeah, well, it's
like you said, it pulls more of the earthy notes.
Well, right, because it is a pale ale to begin with, so it does have that hop to it, so it does need something to balance that out, and the rye comes in, and it doesn't give you like that sweet malt.
Well, it's probably mostly a pale two-row of some sort, whether it's English, like European or American or.
If you're in the bathroom, European. But yeah, we also do dad jokes because we're horrible like that.
Well, you just can't stand us being serious for more than a couple seconds, really.
No, I thought that was you. See,
is it?
I'll do it if it's been like 15 or 20 minutes.
Well, you tend to knock me back into shape though. If I'm going all serious, you tend to try to throw a reference in there. Or, break stuff up.
Well, adding levity. I mean, you do it back and forth. I mean, it's. I think that's the great compliment of our banter is, while we totally accept and appreciate each other and take each other seriously, we totally don't. It's yeah. It just
This is our attempt to bring back the dialectic. A lot of growing up, a lot of issues that I had to work out personally, I did through written word. And this has been a way to try to branch out from that and learn how to connect both hemispheres, I guess is one way that I would say it, in working things out through, verbal communication. And we've been doing it together, communicating like this for years. Nothing's really changed. This is where we just hit record.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the depth of our conversations due to the additional knowledge and experiences that we've gained.
And beer.
That does help. But yeah, I would say, all of that in conjunction with moving forward, like, because we've both grown. I mean, just doing the show, we've grown, so
I feel I've grown. I've grown in your presence.
Is that a roll of quarters in your pocket?
I can't. You're right. I mean, anytime I try to bring up something serious, the other is like just kind of tripping us up.
Yeah, that's what we do.
It's all good though. That's how we do.
I've said it's our grounding each other. It's keeping us humble and honest and, putting us towards being impeccable.
So, what day is it? Mike.
Today's the day the teddy bears have the picnic.
No.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I got to do it. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know why.
It's been an episode or two since we said that. So
I've never said that. That's all you, man. I don't know why you got to bring me into this. What did I do to you to deserve that?
you turn on a mic. That's what you did.
This is true. This is true.
You know, you asked for it. You got it.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes.
Destination now.
I don't even know where you're at with all of this.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
No, it's all good. Dinosaur cup.
Jurassic mug.
Jurassic mug.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, I think it's like freaking 20 some ounces. I think it's massive.
It's not a 40 ounce though.
No, it is not a 40.
A 40?
Yeah, it's a 40. Can I get a 40?
Like that. A 40.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it.
I hear they recently put more hops in the mix.
Just gonna go right into it. Why not?
That's it. I'm gonna have to see some ID.
Yeah, and then he gets sucker punched after he shows it. He's handing over the money and just boom.
McLovin?
Yeah, man. Why not? It's like Madonna or Prince or
Seal.
Yeah, man. They can do it. Why can't you with McLovin? I love the fact that it's like he's from Hawaii though. Yeah, the palest white kid in the world is from Hawaii. Doubt it. Seriously doubt it.
There's too many stretches of imagination to believe. You know, not only are you like you pale white kid from Hawaii, but your name is McLovin. Because that's just normal.
I mean, if he was like from
I had it legally changed.
Well, but that's true. And you know, I mean, I don't know. I guess if you're really from Hawaii, maybe he was like some smoking the the Maui Wowie. He's getting himself all stupid. He's like, you know what would be a great idea? No, it's not. Don't do it. Don't change your name to just McLovin. But it worked out for him. You know what I mean? So maybe you should. I'm just saying, you know.
Give me 6 Schlitzes. I just thought of it.
Can you give me like 7 road sodas?
Well, what beer was it that he was saying had more hops? Like it was all fancy or something, but it was like the cheapest of the cheap that you could get.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Something like the Beast or something like that. Like
the Beast.
The Beast.
What is this, like Mad Dog?
What was that? No, Milwaukee's Best. Wasn't that considered the Beast? I mean, I don't know.
Oh, right. Yeah, I get that now.
Beast.
Yeah, I never drink that crap.
And so much of that stuff. You know, I never went to college, but the ones I visited.
That's true, though.
Back in the day, I mean, it was like, it was stuff like, what was Ice House, man? Like, that was another one. It was like terrible.
Again, I never drank that stuff.
Ice House, Milwaukee's Best.
It was Natty Ice, Natural Ice, or whatever.
Honestly, I think I had more fun in North Philly. Old English. That is, wow. That is a whole different level. That is not like beer.
I mean, when I would drink 40s, it would be like Michelob and stuff like that.
No, I'm talking Old English or St. Ides or...
Oh, yeah, no, I know what you're saying, but
that stuff, oh, man.
Me, when I would...
and you got to finish that, too. That's like a thing. Like, I just gurgled. That's like a thing. You have to finish it. But I can't imagine, I still, to this day, I can't imagine Edward's 40 hands. That's got to be insane.
I'm down. Let's try it. Let's see what happens.
Now, what's that issue, though? Like, what do you do when it's time to go to the bathroom? You can't?
No, you have to finish.
Like, you just have to chug them before...
Yeah, otherwise you have to pee your pants.
Dude, I'd be on the floor.
Chug quick.
That's what I mean.
Dude,
then I'd pee and I'd be relieved, but then I'd fall out.
I mean, you're talking... All right, so let's think about that. We're 80 ounces, right?
40 in each hand, duct taped.
Yeah, but how many pints is that, though?
Too much.
Too much.
It's too much.
It's like 5.5. Dude, I could pound 5 pints in like and still not have to pee. Well, I mean, I'd be able to finish them off and then I'd have to pee, but
I've had people be concerned of me drinking that much water within a couple hours. And you're talking about malt liquor.
yeah, diuretic.
Wait, do you have to say it that way?
Malt
I think it's required. Malt liquor.
Yeah, what you mean you ain't got no slick? Malt liquor.
Explain it to him.
Yeah.
Or you do it better, sorry. That's one of your voice things that you do. Explain it to him. Yeah. No, that was even worse. That was like a reject from The Godfather. I don't know what that was.
I got nothing. I literally, literally got nothing.
Hey, boss, big butts. I don't know what.
Dude, we're just getting started, and you're already, dude, you're already throwing me off, man. What happened on break?
So if anybody's been following along, one of my alter egos is Tangent Man.
Yeah, now there's like the second one, the butcher that destroys all quotes possible.
That's what I do.
But you own it, So
I own it. Yeah, I'm not embarrassed of that.
I mean, you should be.
I bring it up so that you can get it right. So it's just kind of, it's like I'm a flashlight and you're the real show.
You're here for me. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm not a spotlight. I'm just a flashlight. That's all I got. Anyhow,
I mean, are we talking like a double A or like like
no? I mean, I'll
a 6L or
I'll go with the 6L, like the extra large, police size flashlight that you can use as a weapon if needed.
Yeah, you can. Dude, those things are massive.
With the old mag lights, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, they used to be the best. Now it's all this LED and all this other stuff. But I'm sure mag has an LED version now. But
probably
those things were cool because they were extra heavy and like solid. Was it solid steel?
Yeah, I think it was machined.
I mean, it was like carrying around a battery-filled baton.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
What's going on in there? I don't know, sir. What's going on out there? Always tempted. If you have one of those in the passenger seat, just sitting there waiting.
It always makes me think of Super.
I know it's probably a good way to get shot, but just the thought is funny to me.
It always makes you think of Super Troopers in the opening scene because he comes up to the car
in the daytime
with the mag light on
over his shoulder, like
yeah, and he like clicks it off and then puts it away. You know how fast you were going? 57, or he's like 55, or he's like 57. He's like, okay, I'm doing 2 over. I'm
freaking out, man.
Yeah.
Click.
Dude,
you are freaking out, man.
We're just gonna do the movie now. Should we just like?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't plan this. We don't script. It's unscripted.
Yeah, thank God.
Tell me, what are we gonna do?
Try to keep you from tangenting all over the place.
So we were talking about earlier. We were talking about the Wu-Tang show and that you need to catch up with it, but definitely some very good quotables from that. I'm hoping we can kind of get on the par with that because there's some really cool tie-ins. But awesome show. What, an American Saga? Wu-Tang and American Saga.
I mean, I feel like the Wu-Tang is an American Saga.
Dude, it is, and that's what I was trying to get across. Like, so before he was actually the RZA, because he kind of went by different. I mean, they all did. They all went by different nomenclature at first, and they kind of settled in on a name for their association with the Wu-Tang. But of course, there was a lot of awakening involved in that, so that's why
being impeccable with themselves.
The corporate machine that was the music industry, when RZA tried to get in, he realized it was changing him too much. It was changing his artistic expression completely. And he realized that the only way to make it was to make it on your own. So it was like the perfect, he made it the perfect scenario by bringing everybody together. Powerful show. I mean, I know it's not 100% accurate, but...
Well, and to me, like, with you saying all that, it kind of brought the idea to me of, doing it on your own, being told no at that point is a good thing. Because if it wasn't for the fact that you were being told no,
Well, he
pushed
wasn't
away-
willing to see that as an ending. You
Well,
know,
of
that
course.
wasn't an end point for him.
Yeah, just
you know?
that was the wrong avenue.
Right. And it wasn't, I mean, the way it was depicted, it wasn't overnight, obviously. It took a while for him to come to this conclusion, but he realized the amount of talent that was surrounding him that he kind of wanted to pull in as a family, which is exactly what he did. When he created the clan, he pulled them in as a family. So they weren't all necessarily on the same terms until he was like, look, we all want to get out of this crack game. I mean, that's really what it was about. I mean, these guys they were just trying to make a buck just to survive. And it was a deadly game because you had basically two end spots to that game. It was either prison or death.
Most likely. Yeah, those typical outcomes.
He brought his brothers together with the idea that, hey, we all have the talent to take this to the next level. We don't have to do that anymore. And the whole backstory, I've always somewhat known about it, but the whole backstory to that has always been so fascinating to me, and one of the reasons why I've always been such a huge fan of the Wu-Tang in general.
Well, yeah, I think...
And if you're a fan of 36 Chambers, awesome show to watch. Because they do tie-ins with the actual making of the songs. And I have a feeling a lot of it is kind of more on the accurate side when it comes to how it came together.
Okay.
That it was the raw grittiness of it to some extent was planned by the RZA, the way that he
the sound.
He overcut certain levels so that they would distort on purpose.
Yeah, it gave it that grittiness for that raw.
But there was this whole thing about like a lot of the early tracks they did where they were all rhyming. They were literally on a shoestring budget sharing one microphone. So that's why you got it added more to the rawness, and you could hear the other voices within the room, and like there was a real kind of not party atmosphere. It was more like you were in the cipher. And what set it apart was they didn't have a lot of their songs actually, but specifically some of the more popular songs that have stuck. They don't have like a refrain that goes over and over. It would just be like, the sound of nunchucks and swords and, different quotes. But it was like being in the cipher, right? Between all these different really extraordinary MCs that were good in their own right. But together it gave them this, amazing amount of power in a way.
Which, when we were talking about
they all
it before,
played off each other. Like nobody was really better than the other, but they could all play off each other, and and they kept it within their production family. So like they were all about, I want to have my own studio, I want to have my own production line, this is me from beginning to end. From the clothing to the music to everything that we put out, it's all protected and it's all within this group. And that was something completely new to the industry.
Yeah, because that was my point was when we were talking earlier about it, typically it's you get that solo artist tries to break out, and then when they get enough clout or ability or, some sort
Dr. Dre, would be a good example. Right?
Even Eminem, or 50 Cent, Ludacris,
they kind of rode the tails of somebody else until they made it, and then it didn't take long at all for most of them either. That they had a raw talent of their own. But how many guys do you think really are on the streets that have a vocal talent like that never get exposed? Because they weren't because they weren't in the right place at the right time, or kind of the drug game was easier to fall into. Like I can hang out and really work on this for the next couple years and really, really dedicate myself and maybe start making millions. Or I can pull 5 Gs a week right now.
It definitely plays a part in it.
And obviously that number varies, depending on the year, but we're talking back then, probably 5 Gs a week. That was a decent
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, depends, but yeah, no. So
in watching all this and trying to shoestring that together in the early parts, trying to balance it between, all honesty, between the drug game and the music, like using the drug game to support the music at first until they had enough to be able to just kind of leave it all together.
I mean, plenty of people have done that, but that's the thing is, so typically in the industry, you get that solo artist and then they bring up their people, whereas the Wu-Tang did it the opposite way. Instead of trying to bring up an individual and then bring all of them out
from the top down.
Yeah, they did it as the family, and that loyalty, love, support, and like you were saying, the overall energy of being that clan is what got them noticed, and then they went out and did solo stuff. So they did a complete opposite.
I mean, I think was it us that was saying in conversation about that, but the story is following RZA. Honestly, it's his story.
Well, I think he's like in a way. Well, because he's like the main part of it as the producer. I mean, he's doing the music. He's kind of getting everything to be collected.
Well, and he's the guy that's producing the show, so obvious. But I mean, if you tell the story of the RZA, that is telling the story of the Wu-Tang in very much the same way that if it wasn't for him, and that's what it really seems like to me, and it always has been, is that it was his ability as not as a DJ, as a music producer. I mean, he was
as a corraller.
Don't even put yourself up on that pedestal. I'm just saying.
Yo, that's messed up.
The RZA, man, he raised a show up.
Dude, that doesn't mean that I can't be aiming for that.
No, you can aim for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, dude. Why?
Sorry, I don't
why
mean
you
that
gotta,
pound?
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Because I'm not trying to say like I am RZA or something like that. That ain't no. However, this is my aim.
No, that's a great. I mean, the RZA's. I mean, no, he's not the genius because that's another guy. But the RZA is a genius. I mean, absolutely. I mean, and if it wasn't for him, I mean, all those cats wouldn't have come together at all.
And see, and I just love watching interviews with him, not even talking about Wu-Tang or anything else, just him and his experiences. Because, I mean, I remember from when he was on Joe Rogan, he's talking about being a vegan and all these kinds of things.
Raising kids. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, which, mind you, comes from him and his experiences going through all of that stuff. But it's completely, while it's a part of it, it's completely separate. And I enjoyed listening to him just talk as, an adult in this community, a parent, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, what really threw me at a young age when I first got exposed to the Wu-Tang was, I had grown up on a lot of the, like the Eazy-E, even the goofy Kid and Play, the Digital Underground, all that. And it was cool, but it was, when I first got introduced to the Wu-Tang, it was on a much different level. And I mean, even recently, like in the past year, I looked up a title of I think it was one of the tracks off of Genius's album. And you look at the lyrics and it's like, if you just print that out and put that aside and title that like it's poetry, I mean, it's a beautiful work of art all in itself. And I don't get that from, Two Live Crew. You know what I mean? It was a whole different, you know what I'm saying? It was.
I mean, it's still poetry, baby.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, poetry about what? Yeah. But there was a real raw, gritty, experience-driven expression there. Like when they were really talking about, I mean, not that other rappers haven't, not that other hip-hop artists haven't, but, they were really expressing in a very artistic way, what kind of drove them to this lifestyle with music, that it was always that creativity balanced out with that need to be the toughest guy on the block. Like, and that maybe that dichotomy between the two, but that there, the expression was to me much more poetic. And I don't know how else to define that, but I mean, like deep, like I would say poetic, more willing to be vulnerable. Whereas a lot of guys are talking about, coming up and getting the gold chains and this and that. And it's like, that really wasn't the focus with their music. Their focus was about telling a story. Their focus was about, if you really break down the lyrics, it was like this is what I went through learned from me. You know, it was a much deeper, but still very entertaining. So it was on so many levels for me as a kid when I first got exposed to it. It was just blew me away.
Well, a couple things with me with the whole Wu-Tang aspect is, you know, all right. So one piece is, I don't know who I'm quoting this from, but I'm pretty sure this is fairly accurate, and I might be paraphrasing, but the old adage of, you know, coming into rap, you know, developing this whole like hip hop scene, the idea of being an MC, there was only 2 points to doing an MC, and that was you're either here to get the party started, or you know you're here to. Yeah, or you're here to like, you know, drop some knowledge. Like, so you're either gonna
the original hip hop elements. It was and I think like KRS-One, dropping knowledge.
Well, and I think he might have been the one that has said that, where it's like, yeah, you're either here to get the party started or you got something to say.
It might have been KRS-One. Yeah.
And so you're saying with the Wu-Tang is they're not talking about the gold chains and, you know, all that kind of stuff. They're talking about what those experiences have gained them knowledge and wisdom wise.
And they all came at it from a different perspective, which they tied in with the chambers, which I thought was cool because it's just another round in the chamber. Was another, you know, one of the references I think that Ghostface made. You know, is totally keep watching the show. It's a great show, by the way. Anybody out there who's a fan of even just 36 Chambers, like that album encompassed their kind of whole coming to the music industry in the first place, like because that was the initial melding of that group.
Well, and so the second part of the thing that really, you know, the whole getting the party started or having something to say, you know, being that component that all of a sudden is just like, holy crap, what was that? You know, me being, you know, a music guy, there's only been a few albums that I've ever had where the literal, you know, needle drop, that first track, just
all the way.
Like, so
yeah, all the way till the end.
Well, and to me, it's there's only been a few albums that I've ever had where like the first track, like I absolutely fell in love with them. One would have been Run DMC with their Blue album. I mean, I dropped the needle and I was just like, holy crap, I'm hooked.
Right.
The DOC, you know, Dre's first, like, you know, cat that he put out, same thing, that first album, that first track, and I was just like, holy crap, who is this guy? You know, and to me...
Well, he was affiliated with, what, NWA?
Well, Dre was. The DOC came in a little bit later, but, you know, it's... but then, you know, also Deftones. The first time I ever listened to Deftones was their original album, and my buddy was just like nodding his head with, you know, his headphones on, and I'm like, yo, what are you doing? And he's like, hey, hold on a second, I'm just finishing up, you know, because it was a cassette. He's like, I'm just finishing up the B-side, I'll you know, fast forward, skip over and get you to the first one. Puts it in, I throw on the headphones, and from the first needle drop on it, I was just like, holy crap. That was...
Well, like, some of the, I mean, like, there was a lot of other stuff, too, that was on a deeper, like, I would say, was it Diggable Planets, A Tribe Called Quest, like, where it wasn't about mainstream, it was about the art form, you know.
Right. Well, and I mean, and all those are great and everything, but out of all of those albums that I've had where hearing just that very first track, like, as soon as it drops in, I was hooked on them. Out of all of those great albums and great bands that have done stuff, yeah, the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers was, I mean, it literally altered my life. I mean, you know, that first time I heard them, and it was just, it took, because you're talking with 94, so you're getting like the grunge scenes, like all this, that, and
there was a lot of stuff coming up just then, yeah.
And, you know, you're also coming out of like the punk era, disco, rap's just starting, so you're getting like the boom bap and all these other things.
What year?
But Wu-Tang was 94.
Yeah, well, that's
what, so with the
they came late in the game.
Well, the progression coming in rap was you were removing disco and starting to get this music of, you know, culture, and that's where like hip hop comes out of. So, you know, rap is the literal music, hip hop is the way of life. You know, because you're talking about like breakers and graffiti artists and all that kind of stuff.
Well, a lot of it, like you said, it was coming from a place of having fun. I think initially. It wasn't about look what I got, because a lot of the guys they didn't have anything. It was about partying. It was about expressing yourself. You get out there. Who's got the best rhyme? Who's got the best style? Because obviously, when you really broke it down, it wasn't just about the lyrics themselves. It was about how it's delivered. Because I could take the same words and I would deliver it totally differently. But it was almost a character act in the whole thing. Like Digital Underground. I mean, like the one guy had an alter ego that he would play.
Yeah, it was Shock G was also
Shock
Humpty
G
Hum.
was the same guy, and it was just like this whole back and forth, and it was they were real entertainers.
Yeah, well, I think
the Wu-Tang brought it on a different level than that.
Yeah, and that was my bigger point about them coming out in '94 and having all these other musical scenes. Because, I mean, you're also talking about like coming out of MTV and all that stuff. So you really have a larger, ability to grab a bigger audience. To me, Wu-Tang doing 36 Chambers almost kind of took all of those upcoming genres and just threw it all together. So you're getting, thoughtful lyrics. You're getting some of the boom bap. You're getting some of the super big old 808 drum, beat, bass drums. You're getting that rhythmic pattern of, happy, jivey, like disco going into rap. So I feel like them making that album, they literally took everything that was anything at that point and just made it into one massive thing, and it just so happened that it was a rap album.
I mean, one of the things, like I was saying to you before, is like one of the things that I think really set the RZA apart, because I mean, really, like we were saying, it all originally revolved around RZA's ability to make music, and I think what set it apart, and one of the things that set it apart just musically, because I mean, I could listen to an instrumental of RZA's and be perfectly happy with that, and maybe even try to find some rhymes right on top of that of my own, because that in itself is a beautiful work of art. But in a way, he was building off the stuff that had already come out, but in a way, he was reaching back further. Like, it was his love of music in general that created that, almost a genre in itself. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that aren't huge hip hop fans, but love one or two artists, and maybe Wu-Tang is one of those, that because it stands out just by itself musically. But what I was going to say, the other tie-in is the fact that they didn't go along with the industry and what the standard was. They were trying to break the mold. And the fact that they made it at all and made it as successful as they did and made it worldwide, that's what's impressive. That's everything that they got from that. They didn't have to share with an A&R, a producer, a big label. They were the label. And that's what set them out, aside from their skill alone.
Yeah, and I think that's really the great thing about them. As I said before, they kind of did the reverse of what the industry would allow. Going solo artist and bringing your crew up. They did the crew, then they went solo. They also took all of these musical genres and pulled them together. Because I mean, to me,
if RZA had listened to what his A&R had said, he would have given up right after, writing his first single under Prince Rakim. His original name for his single was his MC name was Prince Rakim, and it was, like I was saying, it got so injected with commerciality that they changed at the last minute. Well, I don't know how accurate this is, but at the last minute on the show, they had changed the entire backdrop of the music that he was allowed to use. So they basically reproduced his music, really without his permission. So I think that was one of the final straws for him, that he was like, I can't do this. Not only do I have to isolate all my brothers that I'm trying to bring up with me, because every time he kept saying, hey, I want to bring my friend over, or I want to bring my brother over, can we get him on rhyming on this track? And it's like, well, no, this is, and then when he was finally ready to do it and they were starting to accept groups, they had no interest in the Wu-Tang Clan right at the same time that he was trying to get them all together. They had no interest in him. So it was weird because like they wanted him for one reason when he came on, and then when that didn't work, he was trying to bring in groups at that time, like bring in his group. They weren't interested. And then when the group thing started to become more popular and they wanted to do that, they had no interest in him. So it's just really ironic, like the whole exchange.
Yeah, and I think
that spoke volumes to him.
Yeah, and this is also because again, 94, 36 Chambers comes out. Beastie Boys is starting to get big with Def Jam's because of Rick Rubin. And see, this is what I love Def Jam's story as well, because we're talking like all East Coast at this point with Wu-Tang and everything. Def Jam's was Rick Rubin in his college dorm room, producing stuff, and when you got him, he was probably the first, I think, to help kind of mainstream the idea of a breakbeat and sampling. Like, because plenty of cats had been doing it before. But now you're starting to get Def Jam because, I mean, when Russell Simmons came on, he basically brought like Curtis Blow or whatever. And that was like that single act that kind of brought Def Jam up. Now all of a sudden you have Rick Rubin is just really producing some amazing stuff. And so I feel like, Wu-Tang kind of had an influence from that as well. Because Def Jam at that point was a DIY. They literally did it themselves and they did it their way, and they were very gritty and grimy.
I think it would be really easy to discount, and I don't know if everybody gives what Beastie Boys did enough credit, because in a way they enabled the crossover to the hip hop. Inner city kids in a lot of ways were already into the hip hop scene because it was a sign of where they grew up, where they lived. It was very local to them. But for white kids in middle-class suburbia, there was no avenue for that. It seemed so distant. And if it wasn't for a group like the Beastie Boys to make that more of a mainstream goal, then I think it enabled a lot of other artists to come out then and make that crossover.
And because that's the thing I feel about the Beastie Boys is, they were basically like punk originally, and they kind of just changed the background music for them. Because to me, punk and rap are very much, a similar thing, because they're both raw, they're both gritty, they're both expressing where you're coming from, letting, all that stuff come out.
I believe that's exactly where that came from, actually.
Yeah.
They made that decision.
Correct. That's why when they did Paul's Boutique, the second album, they went back to doing more of like what they did, and then you got to License to Ill, or Ill Communications. Yeah, License to Ill was the first one.
It was Some Old Bullshit, I think, was the one that was much more. It was more of like an old school punk.
Well, then you got
that was the last. That was the first real big album they had as a hit, but that was still as punk. But that was where they started meeting other guys that were doing, and they started getting introduced to the hip hop scene, and they were like, this is really the same thing that punk, it was the counterculture thing, really. It was all it was. It was art, and it was counterculture, and it was I don't know. They just made that decision one day, and whether it was whoever's influence I weighed heavier, I'm not sure, but
I'm pretty sure it was Russell, because he basically said at this point, it's, rap is only black artists. And so to have a white group coming out of basically the same kind of, because you're still talking, Bronx and Brooklyn or whatever, because the three of them, they're come from, I think it was 3 different boroughs. And so they're very much in that system where like this is the thing. And so the fact that they were more or less doing it, just had a different musical background, like literally, different music, because it was, punk. So you're talking more drum and bass. It was an easy transition, but it was also like that controversial thing. So it was like guaranteed free PR, Well, yeah, dude, there's no such thing as bad publicity. So the fact that you're kind of standing out, that's what got them to do it. And because that,
well, it was the bad boy image.
Well, really, not only that,
that's what punk brought. It was the counterculture. It was the bad boy image. It was artistically driven, like, you know,
well, and it was also
kind of against the man kind of thing.
Correct, but the crossover to doing it more rap style was also because in order for them to kind of come out, they, you know, I mean, you're going to be doing warm-ups and stuff, like you're going to be the opening acts. Well, you're not going to come out doing punk for a rap show. And punk was kind of starting to die out. So in order for them to be able to push them, they're like, hey, you guys still do the same stuff you're doing, but let's just switch up the background. And that's when they met like Rick Rubin.
That's true though, because when you listen to, I was just going to say that, like the style really didn't, like they still had that where they all kind of
same rhythm,
they
same
layered on top of each other though. The way that like one of them wasn't singing a song, they were all singing it.
Yeah.
So they didn't really, I mean, that's a good point. They didn't, I mean, they just changed the background music really.
Yeah. And
got more into that, but it was a very colorful display too. I mean, I've heard it said that, you know, you can sample all kinds of old school hip hop and use it in newer music, but Beastie Boys is off limits because it's already so chopped up in its own. It's already a work of art. Like you can't, you know, generally speaking, you wouldn't sample from the Beastie Boys because it's all sampled.
Well, not all of it.
Not all of it.
But yeah.
That it's so diverse that you wouldn't.
And most, I mean, I think a lot of people probably don't even realize this, but their first album, you know, Licensed to Ill with Rick Rubin's, there's a lot of break beats that came from Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they had very interesting, very diverse interests, which is what, I mean, that's the same thing I was saying with the RZA. I think it's when artists get stuck to, I mean, that was one of the things they even referenced in the show that I thought was really interesting is that the A&R guy they were at a record store and they're looking through the stacks and everything that the A&R guy is pulling out, he's like, that's been done. Like, and he even pulled out like a James Brown album and he's like, I'm not going to do that because everybody else has already done it. He's like, that's not, and then he looks over and he, you know, I forget the artist, but it was an old soul artist or something like that. And he's like, this is where we want to go. This is it. This is it right here. And that's what I was saying when the single finally came out. There was this whole talk about, and I think it was BS. I think it was, they didn't want to go with that music for whatever reason, but they said that they couldn't use it. That they weren't allowed to use it. And they just totally changed they basically reproduced his track with a different sample altogether.
Well, and in those kind of scenarios, if you're going to steal stuff, you know, you're opening yourself up for lawsuits. So then you got to pay for licensing rights, even if you're only taking, you know, a 2-second clip.
Right, but I don't think that's really what it was.
I mean, well,
I think it wasn't either. It wasn't poppy enough for them, so they just changed it.
Yeah, possible.
And they used that. I think that's what happened, is that they just used that as an excuse not to publish it with that track as the loop.
Well, yeah, because I mean, but doing that, you got to pay royalties and stuff. So,
well, I mean, you would for any sample you use, unless it's beyond a certain date. Really, if it's past copyright or something like that.
I don't know if that happens for music. Maybe now, well, like, because I guess like classical.
If it's something that's out of publication and it runs out, like if the copyright will eventually run out, that it's not right. You know.
Which then you're talking about like Baroque period classical music and stuff. You know, Beethoven, Mozart, all that kind of stuff.
Well, definitely all that, but there are other instances. That, yeah, I don't know how that works exactly, but yeah. I know James Brown was very upset in general about the hip hop movement. He was mad at like people biting his style. And I think that actually, it might have been James Brown that brought that word biting into the scene too. They're biting somebody's rhymes or biting somebody's music, or, you know, they're taking a bite out of my profit.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a good story.
I heard James was very pissed about that stuff. I would think of it as like, that's awesome. You know, my break beats are so rad that, you know, these new artists are using them and looping them. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, and I'm going to agree with you on that, because me personally, yeah, if I'm doing something, I'm a firm believer that if whatever I'm doing is causing others to want to appreciate it, or, you know, pay homage, steal it, whatever,
or the reverse, it talk crap on me about it, I'm obviously doing something right because I'm causing enough commotion that, you know, people are trying to either take it down or push it up.
But being controversial can be a good thing.
I think so.
I mean, I think I heard it said once that people that like Howard Stern listen approximately on average an hour, and people that dislike him listen approximately on average 2.
Yeah, I know.
So I just always thought that was kind of funny. So you hate him, but you just can't turn it off.
Yeah, no.
It's like you love to hate him. I don't know.
Well,
But controversial isn't, it's not necessarily bad because it means you're getting people thinking, you know, that's what we're all about, right? I mean, getting people thinking. We keep saying that. I don't care if you, after 20 minutes, turn our show off because you're getting into a deep chat with somebody else that you care about. To me, that's what it's all. We did our job. That's great.
Yeah, I agree.
Turn us off. Get talking. I love it. Because that's where this comes from for us. That is our art form. It's just our ability to communicate, whether it's about Wu-Tang or about spirituality or about, you know, whatever, dinosaurs, religious historical conflicts, whatever.
That is a hell of a spectrum.
Yeah, well, hey.
But I think that's very true about us. Like we probably have.
Did we just talk almost like we talk like a full half hour on the Wu-Tang? I don't even.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
probably at least
Wu-Tang to Beastie Boys to James Brown. That's how we do it, though. You know. And here we are now talking about communication. But yeah, and that's I think that's another thing that I really enjoy about Wu-Tang and groups like them is because they are trying to be thought-provoking. You know, I mean, Beastie Boys did it. You know, they get to a point and all of a sudden it's, you know, there's very heartfelt lyrics behind it. You know, it's not just comical or, you know, kitschy anymore. There's a purpose.
Well, I mean, and maybe it's just me, but it felt like it was even more than that, that it was a way to get out some of the crap that they went through, you know, and you know, this was their escape. You know, for the RZA before he made it, listening to these old albums, you know, listen to the old soul tracks and stuff. This was his escape. Music was always a thing for him. And a lot of the guys that he associated with, that he brought into his cipher, they were all on that same level. And the art, it seemed like it was just naturally abundant with all of them. You know, the coming together of all that is just such a beautiful story for me. But that's why we can take 40 minutes straight and talk about the Wu-Tang, pretty much.
That's what we do, bro. That's what we do.
Hey, we don't script any of this. I don't even know where it's going from 1 minute to the next. That's for sure.
You sure shit do not. And because of that, I have no clue.
I mean,
either.
I've tried to take notes pre-show to try and it just, we just let it be.
Yeah, well.
Let it be, like the Beatles.
As much as I try to corral you, sometimes it doesn't work. It's all good, though.
It is what it is.
Yeah, do what it do, baby. But that's how we get into these kind of conversations, you know. And that's the thing that we've always just done is, you know, share knowledge or an experience, and before you know it, we're doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's funny because sometimes I'll think about, or something will bring me to a certain tangent, and I'll get from you or even other people that I like to chit chat with. They're like, wow, I never saw it that way, or I never thought about that, but that's totally on point. So that's why I like this, you know? And then maybe it makes you think about something that maybe I never thought, you know, like.
Oh, we certainly are a catalyst for thought with each other. I can agree to that.
Like that. Yo, communication, keeping, what I say, the dialectic. Keeping the, you know, throwing theories back and forth, you know, imagining what if. You know, don't take everything at face value. Don't assume that everything everybody's told you is true because it's written down on paper.
Yeah, to me,
you know, learn and discover and grow and be yourself.
Yeah, to me, that's like Tesla and Einstein.
I mean, if it wasn't for Einstein learning to think outside the box, we would never have left Newtonian physics. More than once that I've said that.
It's true.
right?
I was there for it.
How do you go from Wu-Tang to Johnny Fix? I don't know. We do that. That's what we do.
just did.
We just,
Well, and I think that they have a lot of things in common with each other, because there is the have to think outside the box. There is the forget everything you know or have been a part of. You know, you're reprogramming yourself.
well, and because it just doesn't. Yeah, I mean, there is a connection because it doesn't work for you. It didn't. It never worked for Nikola Tesla. You know, I'm not discounting what you've done in the past, but we still haven't. We've gotten to a certain point and it's stopped. It's stagnated, and it was in the ability of even though I'm just a vessel, it was in my ability to tap into the ether, to work out some of these issues, and then finally kind of try to put them into physical reality. You know, I'm just a conduit.
Yeah, we talk about that all the
You know, I
time.
think that's just so awesome is that, like, in just letting go and letting the experience be what it is, that you come to this higher pinnacle that you can't plan that. If you did, you would have ruined it. You know, it just happened, you know? And that's the beauty about a lot of those things. And I can definitely see a correlation between the Wu-Tang and many different types of philosophy.
Well, yeah, because I mean, they embraced a lot of the Asian culture, which is very, very delved into philosophy or just the discussion of alternate thinking, as well as being mindful of others in a sense.
And that was so counter to the industry at the time when they were trying to come out. They were trying to push a certain image, which, you know, he was, you know, in the show. I'm referencing the show because obviously I wasn't there. I don't know what actually happened, but
KRS-One was. He literally has a track where it's called "I Was There,"
where the RZA just looks at the you know, the set producer for the video, his first single, his video, and he's just like, none of this is me. He's like, and if I can't express from me, he's like, you know, and obviously he ended up doing it because he was looking for a way out. They all were. But, you know, it was this beautiful stepping stone that made it all happen. So whatever. It had to happen that way. You know, like we always say, everything happens for a reason, right? But he wasn't willing to take no for an answer.
Correct. And that's, I think that's a big part of who I am. Is I'm finally at a place where I love who I am and what I'm doing, and I'm supporting myself with habits and components in my life that make it easier. It literally gives me that flow towards being that kind of person.
But in his expression, it was spiritual for him. You know, it's kind of like the same thing that you're saying. If it doesn't vibe with me, you know, like, why can't you bring your spirituality into everything you do? And in a way, that's very much what he did.
Because
you know, he believed in every one of those guys. He considered them a brother.
Yeah, to me,
and he realized they had raw talent, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm stepping all over you."
It's all right, bro. Yeah, no, to me, it's the Eric Thomas thing of go where you're celebrated, not tolerated.
Definitely focus on that.
Yeah, so the fact
there's always going to be haters, right?
Yeah, the fact of them being that group and they had the confidence in each other to do it this way, they were all celebrating the idea of doing this. So they celebrated the fact that, like, hey, yeah, you know what? Maybe I think I'm a better MC than you, or maybe you're a better lyricist than me, but because we all do it together, it's a group effort. And without you and without me and without, you know, all those things, and just having the appreciation and respect for each component.
That's a good distinction, though, between MC and lyricist, because a lot of people don't realize most MCs, at the time that they came out, most MCs were not writing their own stuff or producing their own videos or any of that. They had very little control.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that made the Wu-Tang very different, is they were by making their own rules, they called the shots.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of groups where you had like one main lyricist and just several MCs. You know, I'm pretty sure Tribe was like that. I think Fife wrote most of their stuff.
Okay. I mean, I haven't researched. I'm sure that's true, but
yeah.
But But still, it was still somebody from that group. Whereas I'm talking about there are plenty of artists that had made
ghostwriters
quite a lot of money that were MCs and good in their own right, because it's really in the delivery of the material that's sellable.
Right.
Because until then, it's just words on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Which, I know as much as the next guy, because I've experienced it myself, that, I could write something and I can't necessarily MC it, but somebody else could pick it up and totally take it to a whole new level,
Right.
Like an actor who can take a couple lines on a piece of paper and make it into a complete individual separate from...
Yeah, I was thinking more of a comedian with the appropriate timing and inflection.
Sure.
A joke can be great and hilarious, but, the wrong timing or inflection, and it's a horrible piece of crap.
Right. Same words.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's... That's why I like the idea of the spirituality, because, like you were saying, it's an expression. They're getting it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're getting it out with a drive for finding a better life for their, at the time for bringing up a family, for trying to rise above all this. I mean, it was a dark, dark place that they were all of them were in. And it's interesting to see that in story form, and I love it.
Well, yeah, and it's Wu-Tang, so,
And that, like, the way that the Raekwon kind of stood apart from the rest of the group in a way, but he was still had that drive, but he was kind of like the doubting Thomas of the group, that he didn't think that was going to be a way to make money. So, yeah, I'm just saying,
oh, yeah, no, all
those little intricacies within the show was what... for me, continually held my interest. I can't believe we just did an entire show on Wu-Tang.
Pretty much. I don't even think this is the first time. We've had, I think in like our first series, we had a solid like Wu-Tang episode almost.
Did we do? I mean, we probably did.
Yeah, but you're talking, this was a while ago now.
Yeah, the OGs.
Yeah, we're old and we don't remember stuff.
Well, 66 times.
Yeah, 66 times in the head.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's pretty much, we're at that point.
Yeah.
Which, I think for once we actually had a nice topic conversation and it just like rolled together and just wrapped itself up.
We don't plan this.
Dude, you can't write this stuff. But if you do want to write to us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hit us up at, I'm telling you, at directionstomusic.org. IMTELLINYOU at directionstomusic.org. And it'd be great to hear from you guys. Chop it up, make fun of us with some movie quotes, give us a topic idea, whatever.
Yeah, or just continue the conversation on Wu-Tang with us, correct us, back us up.
But absolutely, continue loving each other and love yourself and be good to everyone.
Yeah, right? And this is, I'm telling you, we thank you for stopping in, Philly D.
Mr. Gemini.
Yeah, and as always, be good to yourself and be good to everyone else, fam.
That's
we love
right.
you.
Peace.
Peace.